How's it going, everybody? Here with
Hello.
Speiger.
Hello.
He is the mod creator for Chunk-Pregenerator, and we will be taking a look at 1.4 for the Minecraft version 1.7.10. There's also a 1.47 version, and then 110 plus, so 110, 11, and 12 versions currently available. And they're all basically the same version, so everything we teach them here will be able to be used in the other ones, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing to show here is the Pregenerator has all this nice
Auto completion.
thank you. So all you have to do is type it in and hit space and hit tab, and then that will give you all of your options that you can do. Everything in this mod will start with /pregen, and then if you hit help here, it'll give you this nice list of things that you can do with the mod, all the different parameters you can choose. And the first one we're going to do is startradius. And Speiger will go ahead and explain this as I get it all typed in here.
Okay. The startRadius command in the Pregenerator is your basic command that most of you are going to use. It's basically setting a center and a radius and generates basically around that all the chunks for you. The center and radius can be set dynamically. You can even define a dimension where it should do it in, but you don't have to type the dimension actually in. If you type it in and the dimension is actually not loaded, it will load it for you without any extra harm or something. And if there's no dimension defined, it uses the dimension of the person who sent it the command. So if you're the player and you're in the end, it would use the end dimension. If you're the server owner, it would most likely default to the overworld.
Okay, so the first three parameters are the only ones you have to put in.
Yes.
Okay.
So the center X, which you can set either a position to or just do the symbol for representing the player, the curved line, which I can just type in quickly. And for the radius, you have to define a number. There's for the start radius and for the start cycle radius a hard-coded limit, so you can't go further than 1,000 chunks because that would use up too much memory for your PC. But basically, that's all the basic per radius command does for you. There is, of course. Oops.
Okay, before I forget, this is client side or server side only, not needed for client side, but can be used in single player too.
Yeah, that's
I forgot to say that earlier. So you can put this only on your server and then not have to give it out to all the people that are going to be joining. But if you're playing single player, you can also use it there as well. It will not crash your client if you have it in your client. So you can have it client-sided, but it's not a necessity.
Yeah, it's not a requirement to load to join the server with it. It will actually ignore the mod totally. If you have it installed in client or server, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And when you do your basic pre-generation, there's also, I assume you have it visible for those people, a fifth argument for cycle and radius, and that's called post-processing. The default is set to false, and what it does is basically the pre-generator, if it is generating the area around you, let's say we do you do a 50 chunk area, for example, radius, then it will only generate the terrain and prepare the structures, but ores, structures, and features like lakes or something like that, or villages, for example, don't actually get generated until a player comes nearby, or if the chunk is actually getting loaded again by something.
So then if you're playing with something like roguelike dungeons, GregTech 6, maybe even Thaumcraft, because I know it adds above ground dungeon, or reoccurring complexes, you would, if you don't want to know where those things are and have that fog of war effect, you would want to run it in false, because those things would not be generated until you came upon them in the overworld or got close enough for your field of view to load them.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's
but if
correct.
you actually wanted to see what was generating out there, then you would hit true, and that would spawn those things in automatically. So if you know you have I think roguelike is kind of rough on generation because of how completely massive it is. Twilight Forest might also be one that you would want to use the true for, because you know they're out there, and the labyrinths are so huge, you would probably want to pre-gen those. So true would probably be good to run for like Twilight Forest.
Yeah, and there would actually make sense to generate them, because minimap mods usually don't cover further than you actually can see.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start this one. I've got it set for true now, but I'm going to change it to false and start this going, and we can continue to talk about what the actual parameters are that I set and what it's doing. So it is now processing 4,096 chunks, and you can
start in pre-gen listen, so I can actually hear with you and see what is going on you're generating right now.
Okay. Now, with what I put in there, you can see it says, wait a minute. It doesn't actually type what I typed. Okay, so I did this. So the first parameter is your X, and I set that off of my current position by using that little schwa symbol thingy. And then space, another schwa symbol thingy, that is the Z coordinate, which I set to the player with that. The next one is 32, that's the radius in chunks, so 32 chunks all around me. And then the other one is player dimension by the schwa thingy. And then false, so it won't try to generate anything other than terrain.
Yeah, and I just added another task to the task queue. So if you would type in pregen show queue, it will list you all the commands that are actually right now in.
Pregen queue, radius has dimension 0, x4, z16, radius
the most
32.
top one is the one that actually is working on right now, and the one below that is the next one, basically.
Oh, okay.
So I actually enabled a little bit bigger task in the end dimension, which generates a lot quicker. You will see that soon. So as you can see, the first task went on, and we have now a little bit bigger task. This is also a cycle task. So as you can see, it is printing all these things for you. It's 17,000 chunks that it has to generate. It doesn't post-populate them, or it doesn't post-process them. And you can see where it is, how much it has done, how much it's actually generating per tick on average, and how big your memory usage at that point is. So if for server owners, for example, you can't actually see all the time the memory usage, and something like that can be actually really helpful.
Now you actually have something built in here where we can speed up or slow down how fast it goes too, right?
Yeah, in this case, we are going to slow it down, I think,
Okay.
just to show it off. And that would be the time per tick command. There's a default option which sets it to how it is supposed to be. And then you can decide between 10 and 1000. You can make it bigger than 1000, but 10 is the minimum.
So I'll set it to 10.
Yeah. And as you can see, it will take like a tiny bit of time, but you see already the effect. It is slowing down. The numbers is actually going down, as you can see. We are no longer generating 4 chunks per tick. We are actually only generating 1 chunk per tick, because else it would take too much time for the server and it would cause too much lag.
So this would be a good thing if you wanted to play on the server while it's generating.
Yeah, that is the use for it. Now I'm going to set it to 40 milliseconds again. As you can see, it speeds up right away. And it's all command based because you can react so quickly. Like as you saw, it instantly picked up or it instantly slowed down as soon as you hit the command in. If you have a config folder or something like that where you have to change the config, restart the server, that's all hindering the usage of this. It makes it all easy to use. As you can see, it's going quickly over. And after that is done, everything is pre-generated. And if you don't need the mod anymore, you can even remove it.
Now, is there a default option if you don't know what the default is? Could you type
usually,
like default?
You could type in default, but usually there's an autocomplete and it's called default.
Oh, okay.
So when I wrote this mod, I made sure that everything can be finished with autocomplete. You have for everything an option. If there's no option, then you can't actually use it.
That's cool.
So now we are actually like a little bit waiting until that it finishes the task. So I'm going to be a little bit cheaty and double the speed.
Okay, while we're doing that, can you check your map? Because it looks like Journey Map most definitely does not recognize your generated chunks, for me at least.
No, it doesn't notice it because it has like a radius to check around it. So there's a player view limit on the server side of things. So you have to walk out to make that happen. So another thing.
But like Dynamap that I've heard about, I haven't tried it yet, but that would actually give you a view of what's generated.
Yeah, because it's actually saving these two files. When the pre-generator is running, it actually doesn't load chunks really. It just creates them and puts them into the save file. And as soon as they are needed, they get loaded. That's all it does.
Okay, that's cool.
So now I want to show it off. I'm going to type in the command again, for the end. Because the pre-generator, usually all other options that exist, usually go to the area and load them no matter what. Of course, there can be a downside, but my pre-generator actually checks really quickly.
Right, so now you're going to try to regen the end.
After it was already pre-generated.
And I need to hit in pregen listen so I can see what it does.
Yeah.
So there's you looking at the end.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it is actually not fast, and I wonder why. But I put that onto the how is it called?
To-do list.
Show off thing. That showing it off makes like issues. Now that I speed it up, for example, it's actually going quite quick, but not as quick as I had it when I was testing it.
Yeah,
when I tested it.
We tested this on server once before, and it went a lot faster. So
yeah, when testing it, the overworld should go like at 50 chunks at best, maybe 25 to 50, if it's already a generated area, and the end should go from around 500 to 950 chunks per tick. It could be that maybe the PC has too much to do that this server is running on. But usually, as you can see, even if you don't have many or I lost the mind. Basically, even if you have to like check these things, it's going actually quite quick to check all the chunks.
all right, so now that we have 32 radius in the overworld, if we wanted to add to that, we could use the extension, right?
Yeah, that's the pregen start extension command, which has seven possible parameters, and only 5 of them have to be set. The first thing, or the first argument you have to set is if it is a square or if it is a cycle. Basically, to reduce the amount of commands to type in for the more advanced commands, I compressed the cycle and square command down to one command. So you have to define if it is a square or a cycle, where the center is, where it should start from, which radius it should start, and what the max radius of it is.
Okay, so we did a square.
Yeah.
Not cycle, because we did the first one.
If you hit tab multiple times on one argument, you cycle through the arguments.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. So it'll give me 0 or player position. So we want player position?
Yeah.
Okay, and then for the next one we want player position as well. And then we want, oh wow, that's awesome. It actually gives you 10, 25, 40, 50, 75, all the way up to 50,000 just by hitting tab. We actually want to go for an extension of another, let's say 32.
35. We start at 35, and the max radius is basically you don't say how much you want to extend, how big the radius should be from where the min radius is. You actually say how much should be from your player's position. So you don't have like min plus what you say. You have actually to say, I want to have 70 chunks from 35, for example. So
okay.
So you don't have math out. Okay, I want to get to 70. Now I have to remove the minimum from that. No, you just type in 70 as max, for example. This, of course, has also a limit. The start radius command, for example, has a limit of 10,000, 1,000 radius. So about 4 million chunks, I think, are that. And the extension has not a center radius limitation, but it has like a chunk that it generates limitation. So you can't go over 4 million chunks, for example. If it goes over 4 million, it says this is too big for the pre-generation. It would use too much memory for you. But we will not run into that, and that's mostly only for server owners, because start radius does for most worlds everything.
Okay, so I have it set right now to player, starting at 35, ending at 70, player dimension, and then true, which is the different parameter than what we did for the inside. So the inside is only going to do the terrain, but the outer extension that we're adding is going to do any structures.
I would set it to 50 because post-processing takes actually a lot longer than, or a bit longer than normal generation because it has to load 5 chunks at once and then do that. It's a little bit less task, but we don't want to like wait here 20 minutes for things.
Okay, so now what's the other 2 parameters that we don't have to set?
The other 2 parameters are the player and the post-processing.
Oh, okay. So we've got all 5 parameters set.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hit that and it says processing 841 chunks with a possible 210 chunks to post generate.
Now I need to. Yeah. Of course, we could have set it bigger, but for showing off sake, that shouldn't be done. And once the pre-generation is done, it will say, okay, we're done. We're going now to the post-processing step, and it's telling you exactly how many chunks it's making. And this will run actually a lot slower. It does 1/4 of the work, but it's running at 1/4 of the speed. Basically, every 9 chunks in a 3x3 grid, it's generating 4 of them, basically. And what this pre-generator is going to do, it's loading 9 chunks and call the 4 chunks to be generated. And as you can see, he has already 100 of 255 chunks post-processed. Now there's a tiny problem. We actually can't show you off how it generated because when we go near that, it automatically generates, and we don't have like the map viewer for that.
Right. But now I'm going to go and kind of walk out here and show that it shouldn't have to do any of the chunk loading. I'm in a GregTech 5 world, so usually when I'm walking, I can see where it's kind of, actually, you know what? Flying over the water would probably be better.
Yeah, I'm going to fly, and I'm flying already a good chunk out, and as you can see, we don't have really any lag.
You. I can see there's no lag, but I want to, let's see, how do I get in creative?
/ game mode, and then C or 1. It could be that after a pre-generation, and it might happen to you too, it happened just to me, that when you get closer to the area where you started pre-generating, that it doesn't load the chunks immediately. You have to get really close to it until it really loads them. Because Minecraft has a cooldown to check for chunks to be loaded, and when you pre-generate them, Minecraft actually doesn't notice that instantly. It takes a bit of time to notice that. Just so you guys know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting to where I've hit the edge of generation right now, which is actually kind of amazing because my server usually runs, this is on, I'm running the recording software, the server, and the client all on the same computer, so this is going to be a lot slower than what you guys would see if you were doing this yourselves on a dedicated server.
Yeah.
Speiger's here somewhere. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I'm just, and as you can see, it's already generated a lot of terrain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the terrain's popping in pretty quick, and we shouldn't be outside of it yet.
We did like 50 chunks. That's 800 blocks in each direction.
Okay.
And these problems that we have, that you see the chunk border automatically disappear as soon as you relog. So if you make a world, a single player world, it's anyway suggested to relog automatically or to reload the game because of possible memory issues that can show up. I can't fix them all of them. There are certain limitations to that too. But there are at least compared to other solutions, no real memory leaks included. But a relog usually solves all the visible or visual errors that might show up.
Now, this is something that would be in post-processing, right?
This is something that is in post-processing.
Okay.
Mods don't actually get actually told to generate things until the post-processing step or a player comes nearby. So yeah, I found an Electrum nuggets and inscriber press.
Congratulations. All right.
No,
So, is there anything else that I've forgotten to show off today?
there's one single command that we could show. Two things.
Okay.
Just show all commands so people can see it. There's a start mass radius and load from file. Start mass radius is for if you want to generate more than 4 million chunks at once. Basically like a really big area, because 4 million chunks is at least 16,000 blocks in each direction. So start mass radius is basically if you want to really generate huge server worlds or huge worlds just to have them. And these use usually a lot of memory, and it is using the cap at least 2 gigabytes of RAM to just do that if you want to have these radiuses. But if you plan to do that, that's usually anyway not a problem.
And that's something you should probably only do on a server, and probably not while in the world. You should let the server run that, right?
Yeah, but you can be online if you want. It just doesn't help. In client worlds, I don't suggest it at all. The start radius command is all you need. And if you want to extend a bit, the start radius can at least double the radius. So you can go from 16,000 blocks in each direction to at least 32, maybe in 50,000 chunks, blocks in that direction. If you really push it far, you can go even further. But the start mass radius is really for massive generation that takes at least days to generate.
Okay.
That's it there. The other thing for those who maybe want to generate like a world, look how it looks like, and then go to the next world to find the best world seed they want. And let's say they don't want to type in like 5 commands where they say, I want to generate the end, the nether, and the overworld, like a little radius to just fly around. That would be usually only 3 commands. But the load from file, for example, if you autocomplete that for the people, allows you to load text files or other named files with commands in them. You can type in start radius, start extension, start mass radius, and stuff like that with the dimension parameter, with where to start, all these things given. And when you load a text file in, it will automatically load all the commands, execute it how you want to have it. It is basically for you just a reducer of lag typing. You can do much more work with that basically.
Now, where is this file stored at?
ConfigFolder, it creates a folder, and if the folder was before not created at all, it creates an example file for you that explains every single command that you can use and what you have to type in. So, and how the formatting is and how you can exclude lines and stuff like that.
Okay, that's cool for us lazy people that don't want to type too much.
Yeah. Also, if you upload a file while the game is loaded, that's also no problem, because this thing, the auto completion and the reading of the file is also on the fly, so it will notice new files as they get put in. Same with dimensions. If they load in, the auto completion detects that automatically and adds it to your possible list of dimensions you can put in.
Okay. So there's one other thing that we haven't talked about, and that is the chunk start radius that is needed if you're running Rakus mods, correct?
Yeah. there is, for every version, there's the pregen command. But Riker has also a pregen command. For that version, for 1.7.10 only, there's a chunk-pregen command. It's an optional thing that is already is loaded, has the same functionality as pregen. It's just a different name version of it, and so you can use it even if Riker's ones are installed.
Okay, so if you were going to do the chunk pregen, you would do basically the same exact thing, just with chunk instead of pregen, but that is specifically for Rekas, but can be used for any other as well.
It's only 1.7.10 that has this option.
And it's only 1.7.10 that has it. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have a problem with another mod colliding with it, this is the option for 1.7.10. If there's another one for that, most likely someone would have already reported it, but if it's not reported, then there will be also the option to that. But yeah.
So yeah, if you find any issues, report them to Speiger and he'll do his best to get it taken care of.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for this awesome mod. And thank you for helping me to show it off to the best of our abilities. Hope you guys enjoy it. Like I said in the beginning, there will be a link in the description to all the different versions that are currently out. Keep an eye on CurseForge for any updates. Like I said, this is the update 1.4. So depending on when you watch it, there may be something newer out than what's in the description, but the link should get you where you need to go. So have a good one, everybody.
Bye.